In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast, me and my brother James Barlowe, we have a few topics to discuss. First and foremost, I want to get James's opinion on ESPN's odds on the number one pick in the 2025 draft. We're also going to talk about the Rutgers scrimmage that was posted online. And then Hamad Mousa, a guy that James and I are very high on. He looked good in the scrimmage that we saw, but again, it was posted online. Stay tuned to hear our thoughts on the ESPN article, Ace Bailey, Bailey, Harper, and Hamad Mousa. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Rafael Barlowe, along with my brother James Barlowe. And we got some topics to talk about. I know James got some takes that he needs to get off his chest. But before we get into that, I want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. All you have to do is place a $5 bet. And you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets. Guaranteed. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Now, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please subscribe, like, share, comment. Make sure that you click the bell so you can be notified every time we drop, because we are dropping every single day. Well, maybe not 30 days a month, but 20, 25, at least 5 days a week. The NBA Big Board crew is coming at you with NBA draft comments and takes and episodes. I mean, we're not just covering college players. We're covering the globe. And we got multiple opinions. So be sure to subscribe so you can get notified every time we drop an episode. Because, again, we're coming at you every single day. Well, every single weekday for sure. But maybe some weekends. We dropped the episode last weekend on some under the radar prospects. And those series are fun to me when we do like the under the radar guys. But, you know, they don't really like draw a lot of attention because they're guys that most people haven't heard of, you know. But anyway, we're going to talk about a guy that everybody who follows college basketball has heard of, and it is Cooper Flagg. So a couple of days ago, ESPN released an article about the top prospects in the 2025 draft. They mentioned that this draft is supposed to be a lot deeper than the 2024 draft. And Cooper Flagg is just the odds-on favorite right now. According to ESPN, he has 51% odds, or he has a 51% chance of being the number one pick. And then here's a quote from an executive. "I'm going into this year with the open mind about who the number one pick might be. This is how mistakes are made, getting anchored to an opinion and then closing yourself off to new, much more important information that we'll be receiving in the coming months, seeing how the season plays out." Another scout or executive says, "I need to see if Cooper Flagg is indeed a number one type offensive option who can be expected to carry a team at some point in his career, or if he's more of a superstar role player who is better suited as your second or third best player. Every year there are surprises, new players pop up, and others take an unexpected leap." All right, first of all, Cooper Flagg is going into the season as the projected number one pick. But what were your thoughts on the comments from those two executives?
So I agree and understand in a sense what the executive said. So when he said, "I need to know if Cooper Flagg is a somebody that can carry an offense, and or is he a superstar role player?" My question to that first statement is, what do you think? What do you categorize an Anthony Davis as? Is he someone you feel like he could carry an offense? Because when he was the number one option all those years in New Orleans, they went to the playoffs, I believe, once or twice.
And they beat my Blazers that one time.
And they ran into Golden State one year, right? And then, you know.
Are you sure that wasn't the same year?
Was that the same year? I'd have to.
I know they beat the Blazers.
They had Dame and Jill. Yeah.
He just had a baby though. He was, he wasn't getting his rest. But I mean, they had Rondo, you had Drew, you had Davis, you had Miritich was making everything. It's so, as a Blazers fan, that was very disappointing series. But I know one time for sure. I want to say maybe two. I think they probably made it the year they had Cousins and Cousins got hurt.
Yes, yes, because they were on pace. But I said to say this, and I'm not saying Cooper Flagg is Anthony Davis, but because Anthony Davis averaged 5 blocks a game his 1 year at Kentucky. But like, how you evaluate Anthony Davis? Is he a bona fide number one or an unbelievable number two? I don't think that you're wrong taking that kind of guy number one because Anthony Davis is a champion. Anthony Davis probably should have a couple Defensive Player of the Year awards. Whether or not you feel like Cooper Flagg can carry an offense, that's up to debate. But I think going into it right now, he is the number one player because of all of the defense upside, the offense upside, all of that. And then the second executive, when he said going into it with an open mind, because you shouldn't be locked into one guy, I 100% agree with that there because things change. Hey, some of these guys are, I wouldn't say they peaked, but some of them hit their stride a lot earlier every year coming out of high school. So, like, I get both sides of it. But at the same time, I would have Cooper Flagg at a higher than 51% chance of being the number one pick.
Yeah, according to their odds, Ace Bailey has a 25% chance of being the number two pick. So my question for you
Number
is
one pick or number two pick?
I'm sorry, number one pick. 25% chance of being a number one pick. My question to you is, do you think Ace Bailey is this year's version of Scoot Henderson? And when I say that, I mean like there was after that one game in the G League showcase when Scoot and Victor went heads up. Victor was good, but there were some people, and I was one of them, that thought there was a slim chance that Scoot could be the number one pick. I thought it was very slim. I thought, everyone's mind was made up it was Victor, but I did think that, Scoot was phenomenal. He had like 30-something points that game. But I did think like, by him having the ball in his hands all the time and so on, I thought maybe, he's kind of like the quarterback. Sometimes you may take the quarterback number one because he's going to have the ball in his hands and have the most opportunities to make plays. And so then I felt like it was, all year long, or at least coming into the season, it was, can Scoot pass Victor? And then it became evident that Brandon Miller had a chance of being the number two pick. So with all that being said, do you think Ace Bailey is the guy that some people are hyping up, saying that he has a chance to make it look like a race?
Yes and no. I feel like number two is up for grabs. And I want to say that if, you just took all things into consideration, he would probably be the consensus number two pick. But Ralph, I'm not as high on Ace Bailey as others. So like, he could still go number two. Obviously he has talent, but I don't think it's as like in previous drafts where you knew who number two was and maybe there's number three. Like I think in this draft, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5, like we don't know. Especially now, we definitely don't know now, but I also don't think it's going to be as concrete come April, May, and June who 2, 3, and 4 are in this draft.
So according to ESPN, Bailey had a 25% chance of being number one. Dylan Harper, 10%. VJ Edgecombe, 10%. And Nolan Traore had 4%. What are your thoughts on those odds? Or is that even your top 5 right now?
So my top 3 right now would be in no particular. Well, Cooper Flagg number 1, but 2, 3 could be Traore, could be Dylan Harper. I would take Ace Bailey probably 4 right now, and then VJ Edgecombe. He could go 5, but again, a lot of that probably is based on what you saw in the summer, and rightfully so. He played really, really well in the summer. But again, if I had I guess if you would say, what are the odds? I would say 80% Cooper Flagg and then it would get slimmer from there. I'd probably say, I don't know, 10% Ace Bailey, and then skewer it all the way down. But I think it's going to be, at some sort, it's going to be Flagg, Bailey, and Harper, and Traore are going to be the top 4 guys taken.
Yeah, I think Flagg has the highest floor. I think that, there is a chance where if Ace Bailey kind of figures things out, he could be like your dynamic number 1 offensive option. But I like the Anthony Davis, not necessarily a comparison, but I do like the fact that you brought that up.
Yeah,
It's
because
debatable.
if Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis, he had like the stats are ridiculous. Like the advanced stats for his his freshman year were incredible. But if Cooper Flagg puts up 14, like Anthony Davis did, 10 rebounds, very doable. I think he averages more than an assist. I don't think he's getting 5 blocks a game, but if he gets you 2, 3, like you look at him and you're like, hey man, that's the number 1 pick, obviously. And you don't worry about what kind of, if he's a finisher or is he somebody that's anchoring your offense. You're like, hey, I see everything that he does. That's the guy number 1.
Yep. All right. When we return, we're going to talk a little bit more about Cooper Flagg, but we're also going to talk about this Rutgers scrimmage that was posted online, which featured Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper. And based off the scrimmage, you probably think like Dylan Harper should be the one that has the higher odds of being the number 1 pick. But before we get into that, let's talk about FanDuel. If you are an NFL fan, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, which is America's number 1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. And that is at FanDuel.com. All right, once again, thank you for making the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast your first listen of the day. Now, for your second listen, I'm going to suggest you check out Locked On Fantasy Basketball. You could become a fantasy basketball expert, and you can get all the information you need from the fantasy basketball guru and legend himself, Josh Lloyd. Find Locked On Fantasy Basketball on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. All right, I want to talk a little bit more about the Anthony Davis comparison. I actually, again, I like that. Not saying that they are the same player, but I like, just the debate. Is Anthony Davis a number 1 option, or is he best as a number 2? He's obviously won a championship as a number 2 option, but he was absolutely phenomenal in the bubble because he was making threes like he's never made before.
Dirk Nowitzki out there, man.
Yeah, he's like, I think he shot like 38% from 3 in the bubble that year, and he hasn't been able to duplicate that. It's crazy because you can say the same thing like when Draymond was making.
He shot 37%, that year in 2016.
It's like these guys have these outlier years, and their team was a championship. So with Flagg, I think that is a possibility that he could be an Anthony Davis type player. Now, I was not an Anthony Davis fan coming out of school. I actually thought he was like, I knew he was going to be very good. I knew he was going to be impactful. I thought he was a bigger Sean Marion. I felt like he dominated the game just off of his motor, athleticism.
That sounds like Cooper Flagg.
As a play finisher, I was one of the people that was like, all right, every single game, they're like, Anthony Davis was a point guard and he grew. I was like, I don't see like the point guard skills that, like they always talked about he had. And, maybe sometimes at Kentucky, you don't get the opportunity to showcase your full game. But however, Anthony Davis has just added so much more to his offensive game that he didn't have at Kentucky. He wasn't able to showcase. I thought early in his career as a play finisher, but now he's got like the face-up game. He's put on weight. He can post up. I'm not a Lakers fan by any means, But Anthony Davis is one of those guys. When I'm rooting against the Lakers, I fear him when he has the ball, and I fear him on defense. But I know that somebody's going to bump into him. He's going to fall down. He's going to miss about 7 minutes of action. And I
couple of these.
Yeah. So I know his tolerance for pain is low. But I do think that Anthony Davis, it's almost like that was the Anthony Davis Dame Lillard draft. And I'm a Blazers fan. So of course I thought that Dame Lillard was the best player. So my question to you is, like, let's say Cooper Flagg is an Anthony Davis type player, and maybe like a Dylan Harper is a Dame Lillard. What is a better choice?
Conventional wisdom says you go with the big because you can affect both sides of the ball, and that's where you go. I don't necessarily think Dylan Harper is a Dame. I get what you're saying.
I'm just saying, like, you're the clear-cut number one option as the point guard, as your quarterback, your franchise guy, and they both may average 25 a game at their peaks. But who do you choose? The guy that's going to control the offense, or the guy that is going to be more so of a play finisher that can score but is going to anchor your defense?
I would go with the play finisher that can anchor the defense, that can switch, just because it's just so valuable. And I think Cooper Flagg is going to be a really good playmaker. So, it's going to be an added boost. So, yeah.
All right, let's transition to the Rutgers scrimmage, Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper. All right, the first thing I noticed, and this is me being a sneakerhead, why are Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey allowed to wear Nikes when Rutgers?
Are you a sneakerhead or a snitch?
Huh? I actually thought about that when I was planning on bringing it up, but I'm like, I can't snitch. I mean, it's on video, and I mean, those are the two guys everybody is tuning in to watch. But they both had on Nikes. Rutgers is an Adidas school, and the rest of the team had on Hardens and Anthony Edwards. I'm like, is that good for team chemistry? Like, how does that happen? I don't know. Like,
I watched it on my phone and I paused it because I saw the Adidas logo up here on the neckline. And I was like, what kind of Adidas are these? And I played it again and I was like, hold on, man, they got on Kobe's.
And
I was confused. And I thought I tweeted about it, but I didn't. But I was like, I don't know what's going on. No, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, because I don't know. I got to look and see, is Cooper Flagg wearing New Balance? Because he signed a significant New Balance deal. So I got to see if Cooper Flagg is wearing New Balance. But I know,
maybe they can practice in them, because I know the young lady, Haley Van Lith, she has an Adidas deal, but she went to LSU last year, and she couldn't wear Adidas during the game. But her contract, I guess, was like she can wear them off the court. Adidas.
Yeah, and then she's at TCU, which is a Nike school. But anyway, off the shoes, what were your overall thoughts on that scrimmage?
So, long story less long, Dylan Harper was the best player on the floor by far, in my opinion. He got 3-level scoring. He got what he wanted when he wanted. Playmaking was there. He looked great. He looked fantastic. I guess it's no secret I'm not as high on Ace Bailey as you and others. I think I counted 2 paint touches for Ace Bailey, and those are fast break dunks. I saw him shoot turnaround jumpers. Were they the best shots? No. Was the ball sticking to his hands? Yes. I guess really the most alarming play, he had a catch and shoot corner 3-pointer, and he somehow turned that into a Jason Tatum sidestep fadeaway corner 3. And it's like, you can tell he's trying to break some habits that he had developed in high school playing with, lesser talented guys. So I'm not going to sit here and beat him up. But again, if you're telling me that the 6'9" guy who some people think can be number 1 should be a clear-cut number 2, if he can't get to the basket in a scrimmage, then I have concerns. And I had mentioned on the Ace Bailey podcast that he only shot 4 free throws per game in that segment that was on Synergy to 24 shots. So I need paint touches from my number 1, number 2 pick potential friend, I need paint touches. And again, it's just one scrimmage. Is the sky falling? No, but that was just my observation from that scrimmage.
All right, we got to take a break. I got a question for you. This segment was short. I got a question for you, and I'm gonna give you a few minutes to ponder on this. Isn't that some of the stuff, the same stuff that people said about Paolo Banchero and Jason Tatum?
Go ahead, take the break.
All right, when we return, I'm going to see what James comes up with as far as that question. And we're going to talk about Hamad Mousa, a guy that looked really good in Dayton scrimmage that they posted online. All right, last segment. So the question I proposed before we went on a break was some of the concerns that James had about Ace Bailey as far as being a ball stopper, not necessarily getting to the rim, turn it into like tough fadeaway shots. I remember a lot of people said the same about Jason Tatum. And I was a guy, like, I was high on Tatum, but I was higher on Markelle Fultz. I thought Markelle Fultz was the best player. And I would have taken Jason Tatum over Lonzo Ball, hands down. But I was high on Markelle Fultz because Markelle Fultz was cold his freshman year. And then I was big on Banchero. I had Banchero number one from the Champions Classic all the way up until the end. I had him as number one. And he got criticized a lot for his shot selection. They thought, face up, too many mid-range jumpers, yada, yada, yada. And I feel like Ace is going to be the guy this year that his shot selection is going to be criticized, which, rightfully so. The ball did stick to his hands. He was a ball stopper. But sometimes you see like guys like that at that size that settle for those tough shots. It's more welcomed in the NBA. And if he's Tatum, you'll take that. Tatum just won a championship. Banchero I think Orlando's on the rise. So I am not opposed to Ace Bailey's style of play. But I will say this about Ace Bailey. I've had a wave of, I don't want to say emotions. I'm not an emotional guy. But when I first saw Ace Bailey play, I liked him. Then I started not to like him. Then I liked him again. I still like him. But I will say this. Watching that scrimmage, Dylan Harper was the best of the two by far.
By far. Okay, so Jason Tatum at the same age had a better handle than Ace Bailey. We can agree?
Well, I put it like this. I feel like he may have had a better handle, but the handle was just getting to the same spot that Ace Bailey gets to.
That's fair.
I would say it was he knew how to dribble, but then it was a hand in the face, tough, contested shot. I feel like I never saw Tatum get easy shots at Duke.
Paolo at the same age had a better handle than Ace Bailey.
Better passer, for sure.
Better passer. Better
and he didn't really get a chance to unlock his passing at Duke, except
really
one game
quick
against Syracuse.
Tatum freshman year, Paolo's freshman year, they both shot 5 free throws a game, which means they were getting to the basket. Will Ace Bailey get to the basket 5 times a game? I hope so. But will he? I don't know with how he plays. And this isn't the Ace Bailey slander. I don't want to be the guy that's the Ace Bailey hater. I don't want to be his Skip Bayless to him being LeBron. He did make a great pocket pass on the left side of the court. So, I don't even, you know what? I don't think he's a bad passer. I just don't know if he always passes, if that makes sense. There are reads he made at the high school level where you'd be like, oh, okay. But it would follow up with dang, what kind of shot? Oh, well, hey, he's making them. So, is he, I get the, him being a ball stopper doesn't really bother me. I'm a 5-star recruit. I'm the second highest or the highest rated recruit in school history. The ball is going to stop. I don't need you to play like Hoosiers, no. But the thing that I need from him from that scrimmage, I need you to get to the basket. You're 6'9", you got hops. I need you to turn that corner and get to the rim. That's what I need. Because the lesser athletic player, again, it is skills, but Dylan Harper was getting to the basket. Got to the basket in the half court, but he has pace. He has rhythm. He knows how to manipulate angles. I want to see.
And he's got a body built for contact and being able to get to the lane. But I just thought of something though. As far as like the Bailey, Tatum, Banchero thing, one of the things I feel like they all have in common, outside of taking tough shots, mid-range shots, a heavy diet of contested shots, is they all three went to like regular public high schools where they were the man and where they were featured. They didn't play at like these powerhouse schools like your Montverde, your Oak Hills, and all of those. So they're so used to like having to take and make all the tough shots for their team to win. And I think there is, an adjustment period that comes along with that. And I think Bailey's going to have those same growing pains.
And I'm trying to be positive. Like, he didn't take nearly as many tough ones as he was taking in high school. That's definitely...
hold on. I got to say, the first one was like possession, he went straight to the ISO bag.
Oh yeah.
He made it. I was like, okay, he about to go nuts.
I was like, oh shoot, it's gonna work. But then it kind of, it was starting to. He didn't take bad shots. It's just, my thing was, he didn't get to the basket, and that is what I want to see most from him. I think the shot selection will improve. It just has to improve. Like, it just has to. But I
don't know, man. Does it have to? Because he get to wear Nikes when the rest of the team wears Adidas. So his light is
good shot, Ace. Good shot, Ace.
His light is green. But I would say, like, some of my notes that I had on Ace Bailey was he went to his ISO bag on the first possession. Loves to get to his pull up, which we knew that was happening. Ball stopper. Sometimes he's indecisive. Doesn't get all the way to the rim. He did have a couple plays where he got to the rim, but those were in the second half in transition when him and Dylan Harper were on the same team. So for those that didn't watch it, in the first half, they played against each other. And then in the second half of the scrimmage, they were on the same team. And so he did have like some transition finishes that, were assisted by Harper. So I do think like maybe when he does get to the line, it is because Harper's setting him up. Now, as far as Dylan Harper, the first thing that came to my mind is like, hey, man, he's been here before. This ain't a freshman. Very, very just poised and great pace. And
I'm telling you, man, he
doesn't look like he broke a sweat. Was just out there. He was playing D.
Listen, Rob,
he was just out there. He just controlled. Like, he controlled the game. Knew how to balance, getting his own shot, making plays. He had like wrong foot layups.
It's gonna come down to him and Traore at 2. I'm gonna just tell you right now.
You think so? Well, I want to say that I feel like, we talked about it last week. There's a scout that I spoke with that said he didn't like Harper's body, and he looks good. Like, whatever like baby fat and pudginess he may have had, like, that's gone.
Man,
like, he looks to be in phenomenal.
Listen to me. Name a 6'6" bad body ball handler that didn't have success.
He's not bad body.
That's what I'm saying though. But like, name one though. All the dudes that are a little fluffy in different areas that can handle the ball, they have success because they know how to use that weight. It just may not look like what you want to look like, but I mean, as long as you're in shape, who cares?
Yeah. No, I thought he played really, really well in the scrimmage. But like I said, he just looked like he'd been there before. No freshman jitters. I mean, it's just, of course, there are advantages when your dad's a pro and you got an older brother that's a pro.
That can only do so much for you, though, man. You got to go out there and play.
You got to do it, but I do think like you have like some advantages when it comes to like the nuances. And then once you have the talent, the nuances, and the heart, because sometimes, guys whose parents are pros don't have the, for lack of a better term, the dog, the competitive fire. He's got it. All right, let's get into Hamad Mousa. You've been listening to this podcast. We are huge Hamad Mousa fans. He was the best player at Basketball Without Borders in February.
Yes.
He didn't win I don't even think he made the all. I don't know. They gave it to Will Riley.
Shout out to Will Riley, but
Hamad Mousa was the best player there, in my opinion. The passing, the shooting. So I watched the scrimmage online from Dayton's basketball, and Hamad Mousa looked like the player that we saw at Basketball Without Borders in the scrimmage. And I still don't understand whoever that coach was that was hating on him at the Hoop Summit that was not playing him. Man, what were you thinking? Like, did he just show up and you thought he was like the guy because he was from Qatar that they just put on the roster? Because like Hamad got game.
Listen.
And Isaiah Evans was in the same predicament on the other side. But anyway.
Listen to me, Raf. I know they didn't give us the whole scrimmage. They gave us clips of it. But listen, it felt like every clip was Hamad Mousa. Like he was being featured. And him going to Dayton looks like it's a great situation, a great choice. The dude can play. He scores every which way. Pick and roll, he can pass, he cuts, he makes open shots. He's got Euro step footwork. I mean, really, I think the biggest setback, or I guess the biggest thing that you would worry about, is him putting on weight because he's a skinny dude, but like he can play basketball.
Yeah, he's gonna be good. I know that I had wrote an article about some of the top international prospects playing college basketball this year. And he wasn't on the list, and somebody reached out to me. It's not uncommon for somebody to reach out to me saying, hey, you forgot such and such. You forgot. But anyway, I thought him as more of a 2-year guy. I definitely think he's an NBA prospect, bona fide NBA prospect. But I just saw him as a 2-year guy, and I thought most of it would have to do with just the adjustment to like the, gaining weight, physical, because he's probably like 6'8", but I think I mean way more than he does right now.
He might be 6'8", 190, and there's a lot of hair.
Yeah, I mean he might be 6'8", 185. I don't know. So I think putting on weight, but obviously you can put on weight.
But you know what though? It may not even matter because Jaden McDaniels is like 6'11", 190. I mean,
yeah.
If you can play, you can play. He may not be a 2-year college guy, but it may take him a couple years to really see what he is as an NBA player. But he can play, man. Like I was high on him. I don't, like you said, man, that dude from the coach from the Hoop Summit. Yeah, man, we need to check his FanDuel account, man, because I'm gonna
give him a pass, man. He didn't know. He just saw like Qatar. He's like, okay,
man.
He didn't know that he had game. Maybe he didn't practice. I don't know. That's just too much talent to not play. My question for you.
But even then, when he did play, he had like 4 points, 3 rebounds, and assists in like 6 minutes.
Yeah, I don't get it. Do you think that there is a world where he could be a one and done?
Absolutely, yes. He's really good at basketball, and look, he's probably going to be like a advanced stat darling because he plays within his game. He gets to the basket. At the Basketball Without Borders, he was getting fouled. Like they couldn't check him. And it's not because he
did some mid-post stuff.
Yeah, like I mean, he can score in so many different ways. I really think he could be a one and done guy. And depending on, like, you got to think a lot of these kids, some of these kids may not, pan out early. So I think he absolutely could be a one and done guy.
Well, that wraps up this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast. Once again, thank you for making Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast your first listen of the day, even if it's your second or third listen of the day. We appreciate each and every listen. Now, again, I mentioned it in the first segment or after the first segment. If you play fantasy basketball, you got to check out Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Josh Lloyd is an absolute legend in the fantasy world. So check it out, Locked On Fantasy Basketball. It's on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Again, thank you so much for checking us out. This is Rafael and James, and we are out of here.